I had chronic insomnia starting in my late 20s. I've been married for 25 years. I decided that I wanted a divorce. No amount of insecurity that I have about myself outweighs helping even one person.
Posture, yes, it might be very simple answer, but so many people underestimate the power of posture.
I've learned to cut the criticism off much faster.
Malibu or Beverly Hills. Welcome to Confident Secrets, the podcast where presence meets power. I'm your host, Kate. As a self-presentation coach, I work with ambitious women to elevate how they show up on stage, on camera, and everywhere in the world, so their presence fully reflects their purpose. Today's guest is someone whose story is a definition of resilience and reinvention. Melanie Mancil, also known as Nurse Mel, is the founder of 1228, a celebrity wellness practice based in Malibu and Beverly Hills. But there is so much more about her. Mel, welcome to the show, and I would love for you to introduce yourself in your own words about your journey, about your story, anything that you feel is important for us to know.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you for having me on here. I'm very excited to be with you. Like you said, my name is Melanie Mancil. I have my own practice in Malibu and Beverly Hills and soon to be San Diego and Miami. So, and that's called 1228. That's my birthday. There's a whole long story behind that, but it's not because I love myself. It's actually quite a nice little story. But that's where
Tell
the
us
name
the
came.
story. I was actually curious about the naming, so we have time.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I've been married for 25 years to my husband. I decided that I wanted a divorce, and I was sitting on my bed, moved with the movers outside, and nothing was left in my room except my digital clock. And all month I'd been seeing my birthday, 1228, 1228. And I'm not like a woohoo person. I'm not into numerology. I didn't read into it. But I started crying because I was scared, right? I'd thought about this for so long and I was actually doing it. And I looked over and my digital clock just had two lines. It was encrypted. You couldn't read it. And I said, "Oh, that's weird." And then I looked again and turned to 1229. And my daughter walked in and I told her, she said, "That's your grandmother telling you you're going to be just fine." So, anyway, that's the story behind the 1228.
So sweet. But glad for you that I'm glad that your practice is expanding. That's great. So you're building your own business by yourself right now, correct?
Yes, I've always worked. I had my own just aesthetic practice in Dallas, and I've done other things. I started a school, an app. I became involved in real estate. I became a hard money lender. I did a lot of different things, but I went back to my roots and my medical roots and started this. So let me back up. Why I have such a passion for wellness is because I had chronic insomnia starting in my late 20s. And I went from doctor to doctor, and no one could figure it out. And everyone just said, "Here's this pill, take it. We don't know what's wrong with you." But that made me feel worse and actually didn't make me sleep. I started to research on my own, and this was before the internet. This was before Instagram. This was before everybody had an opinion. I think I was looking stuff up on microfiche. You don't even know what that is. But I just really started learning about plastics and heavy metals and stuff that can affect your brain and inflame you and make you sick. So my husband was an ER doctor at the time, and he was watching my journey, and I had two children at the time. So he decided he was going to go back to medical school and become a functional medicine doctor. So we studied together, and I learned just so many things and kind of helped him in his practice with his patients behind the scenes. Yeah, I just have a real love for helping people feel better. That's really my passion.
Oh, thanks for sharing your story. I would love to start with you with a quick fire round to know you even more before we dive into our main stuff. So go with your gut, whatever first comes to your mind, no pressure. Ready?
Yep.
Coffee, tea, or matcha?
Coffee.
Heels or sneakers?
Sneakers.
Wow, really? I thought you would reply heels.
No.
Morning routine or evening rituals?
Evening rituals.
Bold red lip or clean girl look?
Clean girl look.
Malibu or Beverly Hills?
So different. Malibu.
Or slick pulled back hair or a big volume blowout?
I really liked slick back, but I don't think I could pull it off.
Okay, gotcha. And the last one, to be a center of attention or the power behind the scenes?
Center of attention.
Loved it. Thanks for playing along. Okay, Mel, I would love to explore what role presence and confidence play in your life, especially as a woman who leads your own business, develops your own practice. So let's start with first impressions. When you walk into a room, whether it's office, some professional setting, or event, maybe networking event, social event, how do you approach making a first strong impression?
Well, I think a good first impression can start with eye contact. I think it's hard to do. I think it makes people uncomfortable, but that's important. But beyond just the superficial, I think first impression is to ask people about themselves rather than just talk about yourself. People like to talk about themselves. I figured this out. So I just like to hear about the other person. And I think people appreciate that. And I think that's something that makes a good first impression.
And beyond that initial moment, then you need to continue your conversation or just continue living your life. It's often about some subtle things, some subtle body language cues. So you already mentioned eye contact, any other small body language details or self-presentation tips that you are always conscious about when stepping into a public space.
Well, I know this is probably an obvious answer, but it's the first thing that comes to my mind is to have good posture. People do comment on my posture, and I have scoliosis, so that means extra a lot to me. But I'm always sure that my shoulders are back and I have good posture. And I also like to make sure that I have a classy outfit on.
Absolutely. I think posture, yes, it might be very simple answer, but so many people underestimate the power of posture,
Yeah.
and so many people forget about it. Yes, we
Yeah.
all know, but one thing is to know about it, but another thing is embody this and live like that. Keep your posture even when no one is looking at you, when
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, when you cook your dinner, I don't know, like just when you walk into a grocery store, when you think it doesn't matter, I feel it matters.
Mine is just a habit. I've done it probably my whole life, so that it's just second nature. It's just how I stand. So yeah, you're
Great
right. Practice. That's right.
practice, yeah, correct. And outfit, yes, of course, I absolutely agree with you because it's if there is something that can make you feel a little bit better, why not use this advantage, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you already mentioned outfits. Before some big events, what confidence rituals you have? For example, you come up with your dress choice specifically, or you prep your mindset or ground your energy. What helps you to embody that confidence before stepping into visibility?
I don't know if this is a ritual, but it's something I instituted in my life. I'm very, very critical of watching myself on video or seeing pictures of myself. And I'm constantly going, oh, my voice sounds terrible. Oh, that was a dumb answer. Just picking it apart. So I've learned to cut the criticism off much faster. It still comes in, it still enters my head, but I recognize it much faster now. And I'm aware of what I'm doing in my head much faster now. And it's helped me to kind of calm down a little bit and don't overthink everything and just have confidence in what you're saying and not overthink it and be critical.
But it all comes from a high level of a self-awareness. So you mentioned that you observed yourself, right? So you noticed some patterns. Do you have any practices here, maybe meditation or journaling, or just to have time to yourself to analyze, self-reflect on how your day was, how the event was, how the week was, so you can become even more better.
Like I said, to just have more awareness now. I don't know if it came with age and just beating myself up my whole life. Probably that's a little bit of it. But one ritual I do have is just practicing gratitude consciously. Like I've learned to stop looking at the negatives about myself and focusing on the positives of myself, and focusing on the fact that I have things that people want to learn. And they don't care if my hair isn't right. They don't care if my shoes don't match the outfit. They're there to learn and feel better themselves.
Your confidence came with age or with practice. But maybe there were times in your past when you didn't feel that confident. So maybe you can remember about that shift and what helped you to elevate your confidence so other women can also learn from you.
I had, just like Oprah says, an aha moment. I'm always getting just the most beautiful DMs in my social media inbox. And they're just really, really grateful people telling me that I've changed their life, or it can be something very small to something very big. And I decided that no amount of insecurity that I have about myself outweighs helping even one person. So just even helping one person is more important than the negative tapes in my head. So I've let that override my insecurity. And everybody has something to offer. I mean, just because I'm in the medical field doesn't mean that your traits aren't helpful to other people. I think everyone has their own gifts. So I think you should tap into and be grateful and let that be where you lead from.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is very important because not everyone accepts compliments, or in your case, where you impacted someone's life and people are genuinely thankful to you. Not everyone can say, yes, I accept this. I did great job. Now let's move on. Some people like, oh, it's not something important, having like imposter syndrome or something. So it's really important to be able to accept it, acknowledge that you did something good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's empowering.
Any tips you want to share with women who are listening to us, who are growing their own brands, practices, showing up for big moments, or just trying to own their power, especially after divorce as in your situation? Top 3 confidence presence tips to make a strong impact, whether it's on camera or just at any life situation.
Well, that's a big one. I would say one tip would be to know your topics that you're talking about. Like, research it more than you think that you're going to need to use. Like, be prepared for somebody to ask you a very obscure question, because they do. They ask very obscure questions. I'm always surprised at how I can answer them. It always surprises me. But that's because I have studied my field so thoroughly and I'm prepared. You should be clear in what you're saying. You know, project your voice, say less but mean more, like have good content that you're sharing with people. I think that's important. I think it's important to be direct and to the point. People have very short attention spans, especially today, where we live in a society where if you don't get their attention in 2 seconds, they're gone. They have way too many choices. I think it's reprogrammed everyone's brain to have ADD. So people don't want extra words. They want you to get to the point. And so I would say stay concise in your message.
Thank you for sharing that. So tell us where we can find you, your practice, so we can follow and maybe also test your services.
Yeah. If you're on the West Coast, maybe you can come see me at 1228. Worldwide, countrywide, I have a new telehealth coming out, and that's 1228rx.com. But I will always announce things on my social media, 12 the word, 20 the number, 8 the word. I'm pretty good at keeping people up to date there. So,
okay, thanks a lot, Mel. So please, for everyone who is with us, make sure you follow Mel and her practice on Instagram. And of course, follow Modern Day Wife because of Modern Day Wife, we connected. And we have Mel here. And of course, follow me, Kate Zeus, on all socials. Thank you, Mel, for sharing your confidence secrets and your story. Cannot wait to see what you build next and to see how your practice grows.
thank
And
you.
for everyone else, until next time, show up, stand tall, and own your spotlight.